Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this one we're looking at the Motorola Lenovo Moto X4 smartphone. Now there is a lot to cover in this, so what I'm going to do is reel off a few of the most important specs and then cover extra little bits in detail as we go throughout the video. So the key main features, we've got a 5.2 inch Full HD screen with Gorilla Glass 4, a Snapdragon 630 processor with a Adreno 508 GPU, dual lens configuration for the camera, 8 megapixel and a 12 megapixel, a 16 megapixel selfie camera, even got a front facing flash on there as well, built-in fingerprint scanner, IP68 dust and waterproofing protection, USB-C, a 3000 mAh battery and a nice headphone jack. Two other quick things to note: it is available in an Android One edition if you like a bit more of a stripped down and basic stock Android experience, and you can also get it with Amazon Alexa in the US, which I think is a really great feature. I'm really hoping they bring that to the UK very soon. Now it's available in two different colours. We've got a super black or a sterling blue, and we've got the blue variant for you to see here today. Included in the box there's nothing in terms of headphones, you've just got the USB-C cable for charging, as well as Moto's turbocharger, and this is Qualcomm Quick Charge 3 enabled. So onto the phone itself, I think the colour of this is just beautiful. Wait till you get onto the back as well, it's just even better looking. But I do really like the design of this. It's got a nice silver metal edge and then the almost mirror-like blue tint to the screen. So let's run through what we've got. As I did mention, we have got the 5.2 inch screen is a FHD display, which is 1080 by 1920. Along the very top we've got the selfie flash if you're into that kind of thing, the Moto logo and then above the speaker. And then on the right hand side you've got the notification light and the selfie cam. So let's look at the screen before we go to the bottom of the device. I think considering it's a 1080p screen, it does have a great contrast and saturation. Colours are very vivid and you've got some nice blacks on there as well. So in terms of the screen, I think it's quite a nice image considering the price. On the bottom of the device we've got our fingerprint reader. It's not on the back like you see on some other phones, but I'll explain that more in a minute. Now I'm really impressed with this thumbprint reader. I found it to be very accurate on pretty much 99% of every time I used it. Maybe not quite as fast as some other phones that I've looked at, but I definitely take the precision over the speed in this scenario. Then on the left hand side you've also got one of the microphones, and there's actually a total of 3 on this device. So let's have a look around the sides of the device before we go onto the back. So at the very bottom we've got a USB-C port for charging. So happy to see this, even on a budget device. It is the way forward and that's what's going to be standard, so why not whack it on. Nice to see a headphone jack as well. I am one of the people that still use wired headphones over wireless, so very happy on that front. So on the very top we've got another microphone and then also our SIM card and SD card slot. On the right hand side of the phone we've got the volume controls as well as our power button. Now the volumes are actually recessed and then the power button's got a slight texture on, so you can easily differentiate between them. They are plastic but they still do provide a very good response. Plain Jane on the left hand side, there's nothing on that one at all, but we've got everything else on the rest of the phone, so there's nothing that needs to be there anyway. So finally around the back of the phone, here you can see that beautiful mirror-like type back that I said about at the very start. Now they have kept it very simplistic, but I think it does add to the aesthetic. There's no wireless charging available on this phone, even though it does have a glass back and it is possible to do that, but you do need to bear in mind it is more of a budget device. And as you may remember, I said why they put the thumbprint on the front, and again another design aesthetic in that regard. Now you do have a dual lens configuration on this device, and instead of going the usual route of having one that's colour and then one monochrome, they've actually gone for a scheme where you have a 12 megapixel camera as your standard with a dual pixel autofocus and an f2 lens, and then the secondary is actually a wide angle 120 degree f2.2 lens. As you can see as well, there's also a flash above that, but it does give a little bit of protrusion from the actual body itself, so just bear in mind if you do put it down on your counter or desk. Obviously you can avoid that by buying a case, which is what I did, then that sits flush with the camera and obviously you've got nothing to worry about. And if you're wondering about that case, I'll link it in the description box. Now the final third microphone is at the bottom of the device, and then touching a little bit more on design aesthetics, the sides of the back have got a nice rounded edge to them as well, so it does make it feel a lot nicer in the hand rather than having a straight edge. Now as it has metal sides and glass back and front, it is a little bit slippery but not the worst I've seen, but should you be worried about it slipping out of your hand, just get a case for it. So touching on the camera controls, it's nicely laid out and easy to find what you want. There's a nice easy way to go between the normal and then the wide angle lens as well. I will show you some examples in a minute if you're wondering. Touch on the screen gives you an option to adjust the brightness, so very easy to do. And then along the top you've got extra modes such as setting a certain colour to show up but the rest is in grayscale. Classic picture of the telephone boxes in London that are all red but everything's greyed out. It's a very kind of similar example of what you could do with that as well. Of course you've got a panorama, options to do different depths. Here's a little quick sample of my lens. You You can see quite a lot is in shot in the very wide aperture setting, and then when we go to the very narrow, just a very small precise amount is in focus. So this would be good for maybe doing portrait photography, or if you're taking pictures of flowers, to get a nice shallow background blur. It can be a little bit unprecise as it is a software feature, so not the kind of natural bokeh that you'd kind of expect from a DSLR, but then again, considering it's a budget device, it's not that bad. So if you watched any of my previous reviews, you know that I love having the Pro mode on the camera. The ability to go and adjust the f-stop, the aperture, the shutter speeds, your white balances, all of those kind of things, just love to see in the phone. So really happy to see this. I will show you some examples of that in action in a minute. And here's the difference between the standard and wide modes. If you're a fan of taking Instagram pictures of your dinner, this is going to be one for you. So this was an automatic shot that I took out in the garden. Pretty impressed as far as detail and the clarity goes. You can see exactly where it's picked up on the focus point. Another one of the flowers, exposure is pretty good. Obviously you can go into Pro mode and change things about if you want a little bit more. And then here is an example from the standard, then the wide lens, to see how much more you can get in. So in a restaurant, you want to take a picture of a social gathering, having that wide option is definitely going to be useful to help get you all in the picture really easily. This is an example that I took from the Pro mode, just spent a little bit more time just adjusting, ISOs and shutter speeds and things like that to get a little bit of a better image than what you get by the automatic mode. One thing that I did find to be troublesome though is the autofocus. It did kind of hunt for the steps quite a lot rather than the actual flower that was in the middle of the centre in front of it. So a little bit troublesome there, but apart from that, I think it takes a pretty good picture, even considering that's not even edited. So general day-to-day performance is very snappy. No matter what I do, I get great speeds, and I'm very happy with how this device performs in general. In terms of gaming, there's no issues there either. Here's just a on-camera sample of a game, but playing like games like driving that are a bit more intensive for the GPU. There was no stuttering or lag during them, so if you do want to play games on this phone, then have at it. It will cope with that seamlessly. One cool thing that I do like is the ability to just wave your hand over the screen and it will wake up and show if you've got any notifications. I think that's a pretty nifty thing, but sometimes it does come on itself, but I think that just varies on the lighting. Now I did have one unexpected error where it just completely froze, but this was only once, and I think it just happened to be a little bit of a random thing. So once I restarted it, it was good as gold, so just a bit of a glitch I think for that occasion. So battery life with a 3000 mAh battery I found to be really good. You can get through a whole day with about 50% left, so it's pretty much better than my S8 Plus, for example, so pretty good in that department. The fingerprint sensor I think is great on this, and if you're wondering, you can use this as a home button if you change it in the settings, so it's not just just there for the thumb. You can actually change that if you so want to. Otherwise you do have the options on the screen as usual. Now if you're considering this phone purely for a point of maybe business or work, I definitely recommend to go in for this. You don't have that high price range, like your iPhones and maybe your Samsungs and stuff like that. If you don't necessarily use everything, maybe like as multimedia for maybe your camera, I know you've got a good camera should you need it, but you're not paying for features you're not going to use. Now for me, I'm actually going to keep this phone as an event phone when I do maybe photo shoots or festivals, because it's got that IP68 waterproofing. If I happen to get caught out doing photography in the rain, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be perfectly fine, and I can just wipe the phone off at the end of it. Whereas if I take out my smashed screen on my S8 Plus, obviously it's not going to work in that regard. So doing multitasking on Windows and things, if you're going to be doing emails and phone calls, a bit of social media at the time as well, doing all that kind of thing in one go, this is going to be a great one for that. And also having that waterproofing just is the kind of icing on the cake in terms of a business phone. Now to expand on the kind of work kind of side on that again, you can even do actions such as rotating the phone to actually turn on the camera, and then a chop to activate the flashlight. So if you are working in dark environments, exactly like a festival, behind the scenes, there are going to be features that are going to be really handy as well. So little nifty things like that just happen to give this phone a nice little edge. So nice camera, great battery life, even getting 6 hours of power from the charger in 15 minutes, just another extra to just, add to the list of great features. Waterproofing, a great screen, some nifty little features such as the chop for the light, USB-C, snappy performance, a headphone jack, just the whole package I think is just absolutely great. And for the current price of £225, kind of $250, I think is just outstanding. If you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments box below, as I know there's a lot to cover and I may have missed something over that you want to know, so just let me know. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Big thank you to Motorola and Lenovo for sending this out for me to review. I'll put a link in the description box below if you want to get one for yourself. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.